Our next speaker is Dr. JJ Goicoechea, and so I will turn it over to JJ. You need to unmute yourself. There we go. Perfect.
All right, Barry. Thank you. I'm going to share my screen. Barry, I've got a little PowerPoint that I want to run through.
That's
if we
great.
can do that. All right. Everybody see that all right? Okay. So thanks everybody for inviting me. I'll save my joke till the end, other than my goofy looking face. Normally, Dr. Wallstrom, you can't beat him. I will not tell a hard-headed anvil joke like that one. I promise you that. So I'm going to touch on a few things like these guys did. As far as, let me see if I can move something off my screen here. I'm having a problem. All right. Wean calves and pneumonia. Dr. Wallstrom really hit on it, guys, and the need for a vaccination program. But one thing that we've seen in the last couple of years here in Northeast Nevada has been Haemophilus somni. All three of us veterinarians, I'm sure, remember it as Haemophilus somnus, and that's actually what it still is. If you go buy the vaccine, that's what it says on the label. But we've actually diagnosed this in some herds. Kind of a little update on what it is. Was first identified in 1956 as a pathogen. It's predominantly in feedlot cattle. So you'd think, well, why feedlot cattle, and why are we talking about it in Nevada? We're not a big feedlot state. But we are seeing a lot more long backgrounded calves. And part of this is because of these value-added programs. These buyers want some of these calves backgrounded 60 plus days if they can. So we get over that initial bovine respiratory disease complex. And as a result of that, we're seeing Haemophilus somni pop up. Cattle on feed, cattle in the bunks, 60 plus days a lot of the time. And guys, it's really frustrating. What happens is you run through your little outbreak like Dr. Wallstrom and Dr. Euler talked about. You put your vaccine in them, you got your multi-min in them, you're doing everything right. You got a few sicks, you treat them, you think you're over it. You cross that 45-day mark, and then all of a sudden you walk out there and you got 2, 3 sick. You might have a dead. I'm going to go through some pictures because I like showing gross pictures right before lunch. But it can cause a whole list of different things in these cattle, and it's very frustrating. Diagnosis can be very, very challenging. As I said, a lot of guys are backgrounded for longer periods of time. Normally we don't see this in our summer wean calves. So this happens at November, December. We get into that with some of these guys. Here's something that you can see, very severe respiratory disease in this animal. And I'll tell you that this animal's out of a herd that has a really good vaccination program. They hadn't had any problem with any Pasteurellas or any of our other viral pneumonias. So we were able to get into these, and we did find that severe respiratory disease. It also causes myocarditis. You can see here at the point of the knife where we've got a lot of petechial hemorrhage. We've got hemorrhaging in his heart. This animal did not lay dead, and that is not what the cause of this was. We were actually able to necropsy this animal within just a few minutes of being called. So we were lucky in that case. Same thing here. Some heart changes down in there. These present with sudden death sometimes. They thought they were out of the woodwork with these cattle, and it wasn't the case. Otitis, everybody sees these with the ear down. With this Haemophilus, you can get a nasty, nasty draining of that ear. And so that's something else to keep in mind. I think this critter here, I just stole this picture off the internet. I'm not going to say he has Haemophilus. I think he's got a lot of different things going on there with him. But then another one that's been really frustrating for us out here in this part of the state, we're getting this severe lameness in feeder cattle. They can be going along great guns, might be a hind leg, could be a front leg. And so is it mycoplasma? What is it? And we've actually found Haemophilus in these in the last couple of falls. So it is becoming a bigger and bigger problem out here. As I said, guys, diagnostics can be really frustrating. It's hard to culture this bug. You need to freeze your tissues really, really cold, negative 60 at times if you can, to try to find that. Treatment can be really costly. When it hits big. there's a lot of these herds are going to have antibodies circulating throughout the herd because they're exposed to it over their life. But when the disease actually hits and a set of feeder cattle, it can be very, very expensive. We're using a lot of high dollar products, Exceed, Draxxin, that kind of thing to try to get ahead of them. And then to vaccinate or not, I've got a lot of clients that have decided to vaccinate next year. We're going to go ahead and put that in at branding and then pre-weaning, very similar protocol, what the other guys talked about as far as pre-weaning and then hit them again at weaning. And these animals, guys, I boost them again 3 to 4 weeks after, again, just to get that Histophilus in if you have that diagnosis. So work with your vet. The next thing I'm going to talk about is something that's kind of a zebra, if you will, malignant catarrhal fever. We haven't heard about it in a long time in Nevada. You used to see a case once in a while, but in a year like this where there were a lot of desert operations with sheep and goats that couldn't go to the desert this year, they ended up bringing sheep into pastures. A lot of times these were in close proximity to cattle. And so I think it's very timely that we have this conversation again about what this could be. If there are lesions in one of these, if they have blisters or vesicles in their mouth, feet, udder, etc., that would be considered a foreign animal disease. You'd want to work through Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Ramos down in Gardnerville, and you would get a foreign animal disease number for that and have that investigated. If they don't have vesicles, you just kind of work it up as a normal case, if you will. Cattle and bison are the most clinically affected by this. With bison, I mean, I swear to God, if they get within 7 miles of a sheep, they get sick. That's just what happens to them. 100% of them die, especially in my hands. I'm a very bad vet when it comes to MCF. Keep in mind, deer could be affected, so we're going to want to continue to watch that. But captive cervidae aren't allowed in Nevada, so I didn't include any of that. We have had some recent cases in Northeast Nevada, all in bison so far, and they're the result of ovine herpes virus 2. And so sheep, goats, and wildebeest are the most common carriers. We don't have any wildebeest, so I'll let you two figure out what our other carriers could be. Long incubation, 14 to over 200 days in some of these. So you're trying to figure out, was I close to sheep? Were we not? What could have happened? It's generally meters in order to spread to cattle, but it can be miles from the nearest bison. It can spread to them. They become blind. They get corneal ulcers. Obviously, they don't want to eat. They're poor doing. Sudden death can be one. So what you do here, you need to have a strong working relationship with your vet and your neighbors and kind of figure out if you can establish some buffer zones there. No treatment, no vaccine. But I think, again, as we continue to pile more and more livestock together, especially in these drought years, it's something you want to keep about. And then just in closing, and you guys that know me know I've always preached on this, good communication with your herd veterinarian. I want to know about any changes to your operation. I'm sure Jeff and Randy will tell you the exact same thing. Did you put any new pens or corrals in? Are you irrigating new ground? Are you pasturing some different ground that you haven't? Did you change weaning? Are you breeding and calving at different times? Because there's nothing more frustrating than we get that call in the summer, fall, winter. Hey, I've got some animals dying, or hey, I'm aborting. And we have to go through and try to pull all that information out. It's a lot easier for us to kind of make a list of rule outs. If we have the whole story, tell us everything you want to tell us. We can get rid of the information we don't want. But just like Dr. Euler said, if you're going to new country, that's need to know information because maybe you got foothill. And if you put some new pens and corrals in, maybe you got some anthrax that you've managed to stir up. So these are all things we need to work on. And with that, I promised you guys I'd leave my joke till the end. And so I'm not so sure 2021 is going to be much better than 20. I want my money back. The first 7-day trial version was not what I thought it was going to be, folks.